Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, I have a little monologue that just kind of popped into my head after watching Simone Biles win the gold again in the Olympics, which was a beautiful sight. It was completely and entirely beautiful, and I'm going to explain a few things that I want to get off of my chest that I think it is so important. Anyway, welcome aboard Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita, May Wood from Long Beach, California, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York, E2247 from everywhere, Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. We also have, para ver quién más está aquí ahora mismo, para ver, Michael Rudnick from Brooklyn, New York. Let's see who else have we got in the house early on. I think I got it all well. Let's see, Paul Fleming. Okay, here we go. Let me go ahead and read the few things that you guys have first. Then I'm going into a monologue that I want everybody to listen to. I didn't write it. I just after I saw Biles win and saw the swimming and everything, I wanted to say something very important. Anyway, and it also touched on what Trump did at the Black what is it called? The Black Journalists Association, the whatever it's called, the Black Journalist something. Okay. Anyhow, Michael Rudley says Reuters says Harris to hold Philadelphia rally with vice presidential pick on Tuesday. Josh Shapiro becomes odds-on betting favorite to become Kamala Harris's vice president. Harris is expected to tour battleground states with her pick for vice president next week and is set to announce her choice by August 7th. Josh Shapiro is a turbo Zionist. His selection would be a disaster, splitting the progressive and establishment. So we have 2016 all over again. I am actually a Tim Walz kind of a guy. Sometimes you have to wonder how Democrats have a knack of pulling defeat out of a sure landslide. I like Shapiro. I'll just say it. I don't know about his, I haven't done a lot of reading about his Zionism, etc. But what I think is horrendous is that Tim Walz, who more speaks to the Midwest with the way he talks, with his values, that's who I'm for, Tim Walz. Look, no matter what she does or who she picks, yes, it's her who is going to be the president and her policies, right? But it does give you pause that I would like, let me back up and say this, Radin. I want to see some polling. I really would like to see some polling. Tim Walz versus Shapiro versus the Arizona guy. I would like to see some polls on that. Unfortunately, the Daily Kos poll has it neck and neck with Tim Walz and Shapiro. I hope the people get to her before she makes some Shapiro selection. I don't think that because she started in Philadelphia means that she's picking Shapiro. I think that could be I think choosing Philadelphia could serve two purposes to start her campaign. I think one, it could be to see what the response would be if people got an inkling that it was Shapiro that she was picking. So she does that to kind of get exactly the reaction that we got out of you, Rodnan. I don't know if that's the case. I hope that's the case, that she may be testing the waters. Okay, all right. Paul Fleming says New York appeals court denies Donald Trump attempts to have limited gag order lifted before his sentencing in his New York election interference case. That's cool. Bree says, and so it begins. Egberto, this week, Georgia rolled out a new website where people can let the state know they've moved or their relative has died and cancel their voter registration online. The problem with the new cancel my registration site is that bad actors, if they know a person's name, address, date of birth, and either social security number or driver's license number, can simply go in and cancel other people they don't want voting. The safety barrier is that Republican activists who want to delete voter registrations in areas they know are heavily Democratic might be deterred from trying to do that with this site because they don't have all the data on every Georgia voter. Until this week, for an hour on Monday, the entire Georgia voter database, including names, addresses, date of birth, and social security number and driver's numbers, was publicly posted on that very site. These guys would try anything, wouldn't they? And you know what projection is? Projection is saying, you guys are cheating, you guys are cheating. When in reality, all the fingers are pointing right back to you. That's what we generally have with the Republican orthodoxy. All right. E2247 says Kamala Harris act to put backbone in your rhetorical highlighting the need to end the war in Gaza that you might have made during and assuredly after your meeting with war criminal Netanyahu. Pa. Paul Fleming says time to bring back the line from 2016. Not every Trump voter is a racist, but everyone who votes for him has decided that his racism isn't a deal breaker. That's the undeniable truth. And I could not have said that any clearer, Paul Fleming. In fact, if you want to call and talk about that, it would create a good blog for me to post because I think there's a discussion to be had on that statement that you just made there because I would love to expand on that. So if you'd like to call in and talk about that specific issue, I would like to use your voice to expand on what I would like to say as well. All right, E2247 says, establish an intermediate ceasefire. And by the way, the number is 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to call and discuss that statement that brother boy, my mind sometimes goes haywire, Paul Fleming said. All right. Eric Hay says, question, is this fair? Olympic Games are going to be apologetic again, letting Italy girl get beat up? I don't know what you're talking about, but I imagine you should. Let me see. Female boxer yells, this is unjust, and falls to her knees in tears as she quits fights biological male Olympic opponent Emain Khalif after just 46 seconds following powerful punches. I have to read up more about that, but you may find maybe an ally with me on with a transgender female. I have to do my own research, but I do have concerns about, and I think progressives should actually be honest with this issue. If there's a bodybuilder that became a transgender woman, should that bodybuilder be allowed to compete in those types of sports with women? I think my first impression is no. I need the science to really come out there and talk about those issues. But I'm, again, so I get it. I get it. So, I mean, you can actually build allies on these issues. I think even within the transgender community, you could actually build allies by by coming from the discussion with honesty and not prejudice. If you come to the discussion with honesty and not prejudice, we can get somewhere there. All right, Paul Fleming says, say what you want. If I was Trump, I would debate Kamala. I've been around black women for 57 years and haven't won one debate. I'm zero. I would debate Kamala. I'm zero for 93,000. That is so true. That is so true. Let's continue. But you say black women. I don't think I've ever won an argument with a woman, period, irrespective of the race of the woman, right? All right. Good luck, City. California City unveils nation's first all electric vehicle fleet. The police department will have 10 Tesla Model Y as patrol vehicles and 10 Tesla Model 3s for detective and administrative duties, both customized for police use. Great. Imagine they have bigger batteries to keep the computers running and all that good stuff. All right, Michael Rodriguez says, Breach, that just happened. Need a bit more time to research who gave the order to facilitate that prisoner exchange. 4 U.S. residents have been released from prison in Russia as part of a massive exchange involving 7 nations and 24 people. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gersovich, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, Radio Free Europe Liberty, Alsu Kormaverish, and Vladimir Karamursa, I know him, who had been jailed for treason charges for 25 years. Yep, yep. I saw that, and I have a piece that I'm doing on that as well. I don't know. I didn't see Breach put anything of that in the chat before. Let's see. Anyhow, let's continue with the chat. Good afternoon, Yvette Avery Herod. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Yvette is from Atlanta, Georgia. Michael Rensek, Berto, what you have to understand about progressives is that if you ask us to vote for genocide, you lose our vote in a hurry. The principled position is what we have. That's what negative Shapiro brings to a Democratic ticket. All right, I want you to answer this for me, Mr. Rudnin. I first of all, I am a progressive as left as they can go. I don't believe in genocide, and I believe in completely going against Netanyahu and attacking him. Now, if Kamala, better to get it, don't listen to Trump. Kamala brings Shapiro in, and Shapiro, and by the way, and her policy is again to bring down the war, etc. And if the alternative to her is Donald Trump, and what Donald Trump is telling Netanyahu is just go wipe them out and finish this thing up. Forget about all the humanitarian BS. What is the principle? And by the way, now, any other alternative presidential candidate is definitely not going to win. What's the principled vote? I really want people to sit back. What's the principled vote? If Donald Trump comes into office and he works with Netanyahu, he wipes out Gaza, many more tens of thousands of people die. If Kamala comes into office, it's more contained, less people die. I'm going to tell you something that concerns me deeply. I believe we have to do the work. Progressives have got to do the work. If you think she is not good enough on the policy, and you are absolutely sure Trump is going to be worse with the policy, progressives have got to make the case that we are going to put the person that's going to create the least amount of debts, I hate to put it that way, and fight like hell, do the work to mobilize do the work to mobilize to get the right thing done. I'm going to tell you in the aggregate, I don't have the privilege or the luxury to allow 4 years to just see how far it goes for a lot of people that are in need. I can't be single minded. I don't have the privilege. And when I say I am speaking about the people that listens to the program, the people that are in need, the poor people, all these folks. I don't have that privilege to tell them suffer a bit more here in America. I don't have that privilege. I support Gaza completely. Let me go ahead and take Paul Fleming's call. Good afternoon, Paul Fleming. How are you doing, my dear brother?
Fine, sir. And yourself?
I am doing fine. Talk to me.
Yeah, that post, that's the most stressful thing uh here the last couple of elections for me because I have people that I've called my friend since middle school and high school that vote Republican,
Let me stop you for a
and
second. Let me stop you for a
although
second. Hold on a second. Let me stop you for a second. I want to pull up your post because I think your post is prescient. Um, and so I want to find it first so that I can read it verbatim, or rather, I tell you what. Paul Fleming, who's on the line right now, please read your post verbatim.
okay, let me go to it.
Right, and the reason I want that is there's something very prescient about that post that needs to be discussed. Very, very much so, and I think until we get that out there, a lot of people think that certain votes are just a vote. My brother Michael Rudnin is having a problem with uh, who Kamala might pick, in that if she picks Pepito, she may be picking a Zionist that doesn't differ all that much from Netanyahu. I don't know that. I'll take my brother's word on that. And for that,
Mm,
will detract a whole lot of progressives. But I want to look at that a bit further, uh, both in local politics and otherwise. So, did you find it?
yeah, I have it right here.
Okay, read it for me,
I said,
Paul.
time to bring back the line from 2016. Not every Trump voter is a racist, but everyone who votes for him has decided that him being a racist is okay. Or it won't come up. The end the end of it won't come up for me for whatever reason. I'm not getting it to
Okay,
repost back up.
but you know what? That is the essence of your message. The essence of your message is
Yeah,
we have good friends that we differ ideologically, whether it be small government, medium-sized government, all these other issues. But the issue with Trump is more profound. And you said it succinctly. Your friends will look at you and say, "Well, I am not a racist. I'm not voting for the racist part of Donald Trump, but I'm voting for Donald Trump because there's something that he gives me." Is that the gist of it?
yeah. Decided that the racism isn't a deal breaker, but it's the undeniable truth. I mean, it's like a marriage that is bad, but you decide to stay in it, and your reasoning for it just doesn't make any sense. Um, because one my what a guy I consider my best friend, he voted for Barack Obama, but then he turned around and voted for Donald Trump, and you can't square that circle. I mean, when we had a conversation, we actually went on vacation together last year, and I was like, well, how can you vote for a man when his first comments coming down the escalator were Mexicans rapists and thieves? I, that was one of his very first statements when he spoke coming down the escalator of his hotel. That was
Now,
a deal breaker for me from go.
and it's a deal breaker. His behavior at the Black Journalists organization that he spoke at yesterday. I mean, there are several things that he did. A lot of people said like, how could they have been surprised that that would happen? He wanted to go there to demean this particular group. If you notice, they were late in starting because they had microphone problems. Not their problem, but the institution that where they had the event, they had these particular problems. It has nothing to do with race,
Right.
but the connotation that he wanted to give. Black folks can't do
Exactly.
anything well.
Exactly.
That is exactly what he tried to promote there. So he went
And
there
one
to
of
do
my,
two.
I mean,
Go
not to
ahead.
cut you off, but in one of uh my first management job, in one of the first meetings, because several black people were late, our boss made that statement about black people not always being on time. That are you operating on CPT, which is color people time, or are you we need you to operate on the real time. And so that stuck with me, my whole career up until now. Even with my own family, even with my wife, when we go to church together, if she's not up and ready to go when I'm ready to go, I will get in my car and leave. And she's like, "Why'd you leave me?" I said, "We have two vehicles. You know that I'm a part of the brotherhood. I have I have responsibilities around the church, and I'm not gonna be late. So
I
you
mean,
and the kids, y'all can pack." But it
yeah,
just always
there's
stuck with me with my career. I didn't
right
want
there's
that statement ever to be said. I knew
there are
I
those
would be treated well.
stereotypes. Right. I get it.
Yeah,
There are those stereotypes, and the stereotypes, they always talk about a stereotype having some validity to the stereotype, and colored people time, that phrase that people like to use. There is, believe it or not, some validity to it, and Panamanians have that same issue. Whenever we have a
it
party
is.
that's going to start at, yeah, Panamanians have that thing. If a party is going to start at 9 o'clock, it doesn't really start until 11 or 12 o'clock, and we party till the
Right,
morning. That's a
right,
stereotype. That's a
right.
true stereotype, but that is not in the professional domain. When it comes to the professional
Right.
domain, Panamanians will behave like any other professionals. Different cultures, not races. Different cultures have different intricacies and behaviors, and that's normal. But what Trump went to do there was to demean, to show his white supremacist Christian nationalist base that he could go into the
Right.
tiger's den and demean them.
What he's letting us know is, hey, you can say this to these people face and not get anything out of them, because after all, we're in charge of them. We can tell them what to do, that they're beneath us. And what he's
Exactly.
doing is setting up a lot of frustration for some people, because
That is exactly right. I got to
this
ask
is
you to hold a second because we got Bridge on the line as well. Uh, all right,
exactly.
Bridge, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. Please turn on the mic and let me connect you as well as I think I got it working now. All right, and you're still there, correct,
Yeah, it's working.
Paul?
Yes, I'm here.
Paul,
Hey,
you're
Bridge.
okay. Good.
Hey, Paul,
I'm
good to hear you.
All
I
right, Paul.
wanted
Go
to
ahead
say
and
that,
continue.
yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, with my own family. Now, everybody in my family, they're on time to work. But when we have a family gathering, of course, they just float in when they want to. So what
Hmm.
I do is typically I'll schedule that darn thing 2 hours earlier to the time that I really want them to show up, because I might get one person there on time, at that time that I state. But my whole career, I've gone through different types of racism, and 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 uh and even my second to last supervisor was actually talking about he would take me outside. This gentleman was about 10 years older than me, and I was in really good shape. I'm like, and I just had to say it to him, like, old man, that's something that you never want to do. I mean, those words came out of your mouth, but that's something that you really don't want to do with me. because once I get started, I mean, because of the way that I speak, and I'm a fair-skinned African American, people take that as a weakness because I'm so kind. I'm so overly kind to people because I treat people as I want to be treated. But they forget about the fact along the way that I was an athlete. I was a high school All-American football player, and I'll let you hit me first. So when the police call, I can say you attacked me first, but you better believe that they may not get back up off the ground. They may have a concussion when I'm done.
But anyway, so let's go ahead.
Oh,
I
brother.
want to before Breach comes in, I want to expand a little bit more on the thing, on your statement. And Breach, hold for me a second here, because that statement is profound in this regards. When you have a friend that tells you, I know that Donald Trump is a racist. I know that his policies are not necessarily going to be good for most Americans, but I do know that he will be better for my personal finances. I
Mm-hmm.
look at that person and say, okay, I understand you. I understand that you're not the person that I thought you were, but given that you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it for your personal economy, okay, you're not, I'm not going to have the same friendly feelings towards you, but at least I know there's something tacit that you are voting for this guy, and you may really not be racist, but you're willing to sacrifice a part of my soul for your finances. I get that. I can partially forgive you for that. But when it comes to
Mm.
the person who is voting for Trump,
Yeah.
and they claim that they're doing it because of finances. I was talking about some other Trump that really was better on the economy, some other Trump that was really better for that person. I can accept that. Now, when you are voting for Trump, when the reality is that your 401k is sky high, that all these economic parameters are better for you, and you come to me and you claim you're voting for him for economic reasons, that's a lie. You are voting for him for
Right.
nativist prejudice purposes. And will you remain
Right.
my friend? Yes. But let me tell you what kind of friend. It would be a friend that I hold at a distance, understanding that deep inside, you have yet to acknowledge that you are a racist. And until you
Right.
acknowledge that you are a racist, you cannot heal.
Right.
You cannot heal. And again, I have good white friends that are real racists that just don't understand or know that they're racist, because, and these are mostly progressives. It takes a
Well,
lot. Go
here's
ahead, Brie.
what I've done a little thought into it, and my white friends, they live in a bubble where they don't have very many or not any at all people of color that work in the business that they work in. And
Well,
so when you get encapsulated in that bubble and start listening to diff- that one ideology over and over again, like Trump
it
hits the
messes
line
with you.
over and over again,
Yeah,
it really does because
it messes with you.
he called
But
me.
Paul, Bridge is on, and we've spoken about this a bit. I want to bring Bridge into the conversation. Bridge, go ahead. You called for a particular reason.
Well, I called just the idea, but what Paul is saying is true. I feel it a different way because I'm not black, but I am gay, so I get it from a different angle, and it's a whole different angle. But as far as and the prejudice ran deep with my college that I worked at. It was disgusting how they treated me. I actually got a lawyer, but that's another subject. And I wanted to say that he's right in what he said about the racist because I am in MAGA country here, and they say that they're not racist, and they actually don't even like talking about it because I say, well, it's a moral issue. Like you said, finances. To me, it's moral. It's a moral issue. How could you let someone make fun of gays, blacks, handicapped, and all this stuff, beat them up, lock them up, but take the January 6th people and free them because they were just citizens doing their right. No, I mean, so it's a moral issue for me, and most of these people identify as Christian, or as I call it, Protestant, because they don't call it Protestant anymore; they call it Christian, but they're Protestants; they're not Catholic. And that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But they identify as Christian, and they're not living up to their morals. I mean, I told you, my one neighbor said to me that her husband said to her, "Well, I don't have anything against black people. I think everybody should own one." What?
Wow.
Well, I was like, what? I don't have anything against black people. I just wanted to think everybody should own one. And that's how they think, and they don't think that's racist.
Trump is
It's
saying
blatant.
things that a lot of them are too afraid
Somebody
to
turn
say.
down the radius. Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That makes them feel good that Trump say the things that they want to say but are too afraid to say, and do the things that they want to do but are too afraid to do.
Well, he didn't start the fire. He didn't start the fire.
No.
He just allowed it to exist and let them crawl out of their rocks.
Yeah, he definitely didn't, because I've gone through racism my whole career, and it's kind of funny that you say you were gay, because I was discriminated against 2 gay white women, which was it just totally blew my mind, because one of my best friends is gay, and so because I coached her kid in baseball, in travel baseball, and we just had a lot in common, and we quit because I was raised just to love everybody, but it just threw me for a loop.
That would blow me for a loop, because I don't know if it was because you were a black man or because you were a man. I would question that. I don't know.
Decide, because one was my boss in HR, and then when I became an area supervisor, the other one became my boss. But the guy that hired both of them hired me first. And that was my saving grace, because he knew what type of worker I was, and he knew what he could get out of me and expect out of me. And so that was kind of my
right away. Right away. You were hired first because you were a man, so that's the avenue I would take. The fact that you happen to be black.
No, I was hired because the company came to Georgia, and I was one of the first people to apply.
What I'm saying is that they were hired after you and didn't like you, or were prejudiced or racist against you.
Yeah, but
they just felt probably because you were a guy. I really don't know, but gay women usually don't care.
Because I guess
all right.
Could have felt threatened that some kind of.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead,
Two
Breeze.
things I called about. Number one, Roberta, you said something about how Trump was upset that they delayed it because they had equipment failure.
Mm-hmm.
It has come out from the Times and other avenues that it was Trump that delayed it.
Oh, wow.
They wanted him to. They were fact checking him in real time. PBS. They were fact checking him in real time, and he blew a shit fit. And they didn't want him. He didn't want that. So he delayed it for like 40 minutes, fighting with the producers of the whole thing. He should never have been invited there, number one. But that's why they delayed it. And the other thing was when that woman in blue, the ABC anchor or whatever her name is.
Right, Harris, yeah.
And as soon as the first answer he gave her, the very first nasty friggin' answer, she should have just said, okay, we're done. Thank you very much.
Right.
And show him the door. That's it. End of show.
That's what I said in the tweet that I sent out.
And then the other thing was, I keep posting all day today. Well, how did a white man all of a sudden turn orange? Someone should look into that.
Breeze, stop it, Breeze.
He's crazy.
But look, what I want to get out of what I wanted to get out of brother Paul's statement was the following. And this is to my white brothers and sisters. And I hope you've noticed something. Even if I have determined that a white brother or sister that's a friend of mine is a racist. Notice I never said I will defriend them. I'm not asking everybody to take my stance. I'm saying I will not defriend them. I will continue to work with them. And the
I
reason is why. Let me explain why before you answer, Beach. The
well, I was
reason
going to
is
say
as
I
follows.
agree. I have not defriended. I have not unfriended anybody like that.
Yeah, when I say
I have not.
unfriend,
I've done the
I'm
same
not.
thing. I've
I'm
not
not only
done that.
I'm not only talking about on social media. I'm talking about from person to person.
Oh no, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about in real life.
Okay,
I don't
great,
do that.
great. Right, and let me tell you why. Racism is something that is taught. It is something that you were reared with from you were born, from the time you watched TV and saw that beauty was defined as slim, blue-eyed, pale skin, right? All these things are kids got all these triggers early on, right? So all these things are
Hmm.
realities that people get. So how do I, a society that has corrupted people, specifically white people, a society corrupted the thought process. If I am talking about changing society, and I decide that for every racist that I come across, that's a friend that I find out is a racist, I go ahead and say, okay, you're not my friend anymore. I don't like you. I don't. I have I've allowed the system to continue because we never get to that intersectionality. But
Hmm. I
there's
get that.
and there are some that also say the following: well, some people will never change. Yeah, they'll never change. But the seeds are not only planted, but a lot of times when I'm talking to my racist friends, other friends are around, other people are around, and it and it actually puts the other people that you're not necessarily talking to think, right? And not only that, when the racists speak to others, it gets to them. So what I'm saying is that we need a lot of what I'm doing, and to really get the job done. Because
Well,
let me
what
look.
we need is
You
a
look
lot
in
of
our
you
chat,
people.
right? Look in our chat. There is so much racist connotations in our chat from several of our posters. A lot of it has the racial tinge, how they were reared, and it shows up blatantly, and they will scream. They're not racist. Egberto is racist for calling out racism. Think about it, Bridge.
I know.
You see?
It cracks me up that they're saying it. They don't even realize they're racist, and they also don't
Right,
realize that they're misogynist. They don't even know that
right.
they're saying that. We have a guy. I run a group. It's almost up to 37K people.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge, and we got my one friend termed it mirror magas, and some of the men in there are just ridiculous. All they do is post about the couch. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking of doing it? I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? Stop. But just to give you an idea, in the last 20 days,
Mm-hmm.
there's been over 16,000 posts, 270,000 comments, over almost 2 million reactions. That's how
Mm-hmm.
large this group is. It's huge. But the leader of the group, the guy that started the group that doesn't do anything anymore, he's not even
Mm-hmm.
involved. He said something the other day. He said to me, we have a group chat, a admin chat, and he said, well, what do I have to call Harris now, Madam President? I said, yes. He
Yes.
goes, why? I said, why? What are you asking that for? How stupid? He goes, well,
Right.
I don't know. Why can't I just call her Mrs. Harris?
That is
I said,
sick.
because
It
she's
is
the
sick.
president.
Exactly. Exact. Hey,
And he
before we
doesn't
go,
even he doesn't
Michael.
even know that. I said, something. That's why you're single.
Right. Michael Rudnin
Anyway,
said something that is
I'll
present. He
let your
said the
show go
following.
on.
Okay, but wait, you don't have to leave yet. I want to say Michael Rudnin says conservatives don't understand the difference between racism and anti-racism. And that's the truth. But I want to say one other thing about our progressive side, right? I am in all kinds of spaces. I'm in the conservative space and the progressive space. In the conservative space, they try like hell to treat me well when I'm in those spaces because they want to make sure that we don't consider them who they really are. the racist ones, that is. Okay. But on our side,
Right.
meaning the progressive side, we have the same portion of racist in there as well. I know people don't like to hear that when I say
Okay.
it, but they are and sexist as well and misogynist. Otherwise, Hillary would be president. I can name you this. We have to be honest on all sides. The difference between our racist and our misogynist, etc., is at least we are attempting to have policy. I didn't say hearts, not your heart. We're attempting to have policy that protects against that. And that is what I hope
Well,
more
that
people understand.
well, that's
Go
what's
ahead.
funny is the one woman who said about owning a black person. She's not
Hmm.
racist. Everyone should own one. She has a gay daughter, a gay brother-in-law, a
Hmm.
trans son, and I'm like, and you're going to vote for Trump. That's what you're going to do. You're hurting us. You're hurting your daughter. And she goes, well, I'm Republican. That's what I vote. I vote Republican. I don't care who's on the ticket. And I'm like, but you're voting against your own interest.
Yeah, yeah. But
And then
anyway,
she
you know
goes, I
what?
have to go, and she hangs up.
All right,
Yeah,
guys,
we
I
got to
got to
get back to the
continue with
show.
the show. I just wanted to, but you guys were the show today. Trust me, both of you were the show. Thank you for calling in, Paul and Breach. I love that. Like more to call in the future. All right, guys.
See you guys. Bye, Paul.
Yep.
All right, folks. Let me take a little breather here,
All
and
parties have disconnected.
this breather that I'm going to take here is to play this from today. As you know, a lot of people got released. There was this big deal made to release several prisoners, and Donald Trump said, "If I were the president, I would not have made. I would have gotten these people back without any kind of deal." I want you to listen to Brother Biden's response. President Biden secured the release of 4 prisoners from Russia. And, he made all kinds of deals with many different countries to get it done, and they had to release certain folks, etc. And of course, big mouth Donald Trump says, I could have done it without making a deal. I would not have had to give away anything. If I were the president, I could do it. And so a reporter parroting Donald Trump, which really Trump should have gone ignored, asked the president, President Donald Trump said he could have done it better. The president walks up to the mic and he says, he was president. Why didn't he? Every time Donald Trump says, I could do it better or whatever, we must remind him he was actually president for 4 years. But anyway, I want you to see how the president responded, and also how the panelists responded by saying, but by the way, a lot of these guys were thrown into prison, were kidnapped, or if that's what you want to call it, under Trump's administration. Why didn't you do it then? Check this out.
President Trump has said repeatedly that he could have gotten the hostages out without giving anything in exchange. What do you say to that? What do you say to President Trump now, former president?
Why didn't he do it when he was president?
Well, with a few questions there at the end where the president was just asked, what do you say to former President Trump, who said that he could have done this deal without making concessions? He went back to the microphones and said, why didn't he do it when he was president? Of course, because several of these prisoners that have now been released were taken on Donald Trump's watch.
Let's be clear here, folks. We have given Donald Trump too much of a leeway. We have allowed him to just talk. You know, those bullies that says, I can do this, I could do this, I could do that, but never gets anything done. That's who Donald Trump is. That's who Donald Trump has always been. A big mouth, but every time he tries to run a company, he goes bankrupt. A big mouth, but to make money, he has to steal. A big mouth, but to convince people but to win something, he has to steal it. He has never, ever won a presidential election by popular vote. In 2016, remember, he lost it by 3 million votes. The Electoral College from our undemocratic constitution allowed him to be president. Now, President Biden had to win it by 7 million votes to win the Electoral College by just 40,000 votes. It's a shame the way the things work. But remember, this big mouth has never won anything, has never been really successful in anything where he didn't have to use illegalities to do it. So when he talks about, oh, I could have done X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't have had to release anybody. BS. The Biden administration did it. They did what it takes. They did what it took. They did the work. They were disciplined. They weren't out there just talking crap. They sat behind the desk. They sat everywhere and did what needed to be done. And then ultimately they got the job done. America would be foolish and will be diminished if it ever attempted to elect that person that calls himself a human being. We should never make that mistake again. Even if it's because of an undemocratic constitution, that mistake should never be made again. Good job, President Biden. Now, you want to see a deceived mind. And this is what Trump does to the minds of otherwise intelligent people. This is what Mike Cisak had to say. There was election interference in 2016 and 2020. Clinton and those in government attempted a coup on Trump in 2016. Now, he doesn't have any evidence of any of that on his own, right? Because he couldn't go to 50 states, to all the polling locations and find this out. All the people in the world, both Democrats and Republicans, agree that that when they did the investigations, that these elections were run appropriately. Even Trump's election czar said the same, right? But his marketing to the gullible is so effective that for some folks that I have to call weak-minded, they can believe that. That is something we're going to have to live with as a country. But it doesn't have to stop the country from functioning. There will always be these folks that have these crazy beliefs. And lucky for them, we are here. Lucky for Mike Cisak and others, progressives are here to make sure he survives. Because if we were to ever give up and let the country becomes what Trump would make the country to be, our farmers and all the others would be in a whole lot of trouble. Now, I wanted to say something, a monologue about the Olympics, because I thought the Olympics are beautiful. The Olympics, where all the different countries come around and compete. And nobody wants to say it all that much, but from its inception, our Olympic was always, to some extent, reflective of America, right? Even in the days of Jesse Owen winning in front of Hitler, we at least took our black guy to run in Germany, and he won. But you take a look at the Olympics today, our very, very diverse team from America. And we see diversity in action. We see that no sport is relegated to anybody as it used to be, which makes it much more vibrant and which makes us winners. Because the cream of the crop really gets to float. The cream of the crop really gets to float. And that's not only in sports. You take a look at our inventions and those people in science at universities, etc., where everybody has equal access to success, equal access to learn, equal access to move forward, irrespective of ethnicity, etc. The cream comes up. You see how great the Nigerian physicists are doing, the Irish physicists are doing. The cream of the crop comes up. No inherent affirmative action for one group of folk. The folks that have always had affirmative action in America is not black folk. It's not Latinos. As the playing field, because of DEI and other programs, have grown, what has happened is the best of us all. This maze of humanity have risen to the top. When Simone Biles, before they won the team sports, there was one of the gymnasts from the previous Olympics. It's clear that she was taken up by the MAGA base. And she made some comments about these girls not working as hard as they did, etc., in her commentary. And Biles and these girls didn't say much other than going out on the field and winning it all. And likewise, going out in the all around today and winning the gold and the bronze. Interestingly, a black woman and an Asian woman won the gold and the bronze for America. All kinds of people winning for America because we are allowing the best to rise. Same thing if you look at France. If you look at all these countries that are starting to bring out, I don't know if you guys remember what these sports used to look like before, but the cream comes up. And this is true in industry. This is true in business. This is true in science. And for those who are trying to hold on to this myth that somehow one group, one gender has a monopoly on intelligence, a monopoly on intellect, a monopoly on physicality. The reality is, it ain't so, baby. It's never been so. You know, there are all these books that are out there, the bell curve and all these kind of stuff that try to scientifically show that different folks had different aptitudes, etc., not realizing that the stupidity behind it is that the chromosome, the things that make us different races are so far removed from humanity proper. The genetics tell you that. The fact that my white sister Bridge MCP could probably give me a kidney and couldn't give it to her own sister should tell you something. One of the reasons I take the stance that I take on race, on integration, on working with everybody, on trying to reach everybody where they are, including writing my book that I want you guys to get, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, because I talk about some of this in there. The reason I do this is because our minds are so effed up by the capitalist system. The capitalist system needs us to be against each other. That's what it was founded on. That is why it is needed, because it had to find a way that said, I will profit off of your back. During the Bacon Rebellion, when the white guy and the black guy realized, oh my God, we are in the same boat. Let's work together against the man. They had to quell that. And they had to make the differences more profound. They had to create whiteness. They had to create all these other things. Remember, this economic system wasn't made for white people. This economic system wasn't made for Asians, black people, or whatever. All capitalists are all and in the same. Yes, some are nicer than others. But the system is an exploitation that depends on sexism, racism, xenophobia, and all of that to survive. Otherwise, the people in Vietnam wouldn't work at a discount for the people in the United States of America. Otherwise, the people would not allow an executive to make 180 times what they make on average, and in the top 500 companies, 300 times more than everybody else. They would not allow themselves to be used. The idea that we are greedy, the idea that all of us are greedy and that is how the system works is an inculcation placed in your minds to make you believe it is okay. The economic system is one that we want. I tell you, every time you hear the word capitalism, every time, and I don't care if it's Biden saying it or if it's Trump saying it or whatever, because they are just as indoctrinated since the inception of since industrial revolution and etc. The system requires all the isms to survive, because if we don't have the isms to be against each other, we will be against those who are really enslaving us all. And that's the economic system under the auspices of capitalism. I know it's hard to accept. I know it's hard to believe. I know it's hard because that's all you have learned. If you're not a capitalist, oh, you're a communist. Not at all. I'm a free enterpriser that believes in a strong social safety net. Call it whatever you want to call it. I call it humane. Call it whatever you want to call it. I call it caring about human beings. Tom has a limerick. Where is it? Where is the link to Tom? Oh, I'll have to send it to you, Bree. Send me a text so that I can remember to send it to you. Black journalists, and a National Association of Black Journalists is what we're talking about. Taught us a valuable lesson. You cannot rationalize with irrational people. All right, look, it's 4:00. I enjoyed today. I hope you all enjoyed having this sort of it wasn't all that well documented today what we're going to talk about. I hope you enjoyed it. But we'll get back to structure whenever you guys want structure, whenever you guys demand that I have structure, because it's your show. Anyway, but I always have structure. I always have my stuff ready for you for whatever. I tell the people the same thing in the mornings. And my friend from Barcelona, Spain is in the house as well. How you doing? How you doing, my dear friend? Let's see who else is in with us. All right. Let me go ahead and say, folks, please support the program. How can you support the program? You can support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/support. That is where all our support links are, the different ways in which you can support us. Specifically, what I'm asking for right now, and I'm asking, we need this to keep this project going, is for a hell of a lot more people to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. The newsletter is Egberto Off the Record. You can get to the newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Yes, Eric, there will be an Ask Egberto Anything on Saturday. So please support the show as best you can. And by the way, folks, I've also have some Kamala Harris T-shirts and mugs and stuff with the Politics Done Right logo in. I forgot to post it today. I'll post. Actually, if you go to politicsdoneright.com/store, you will find it. Some Kamala Harris memorabilia is in there. Let me see if I can find the link. politicsdoneright.com/store. I have a Kamala Harris T-shirt there, a Kamala Harris mug, and a Kamala Harris stuff. So check it out. It says President Kamala Harris, we are not going backward, or something like that I put on it. So check it out, politicsdoneright.com/store. Again, please support the program. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right,
I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.